To be a great leader of the people, you must first walk their steps, experience their hardships, listen to their voices, and always make them the core of all your policies. China is very lucky to have such a great leader.
An ideal leader who works at the grassroots level, understands the problems of the common man, empathizes with them, and finds workable solutions for the common man. Very impressive.
It's not what you say, but it's what you do. And President Xi didn't talk very much, but he showed the world what China has accomplished.
A leader who is also a poet and philosopher. Rick, I know you have lived in China for quite some time now.
That's right, Sylvia. 4 cities, 4 decades.
So what do you make of the vast changes that happened in the country?
Well, I really think it's fantastic, especially if we're talking about the achievements of the past decade, such as the environment and the infrastructure building and people's livelihoods and more.
Right, it's after Xi Jinping took over the helm of China's governing party. What would the word be for you to describe the Chinese top leader?
One word? I don't think I could do it in one word. I'd have to use the phrase, president of the people. I can't think of other world leaders who have visited their people so often and so extensively.
It's so true, from farms to fishing villages, from homes to restaurants, schools, hospitals, supermarkets, factories, laboratories, even pigsties and toilets. He goes right to the source to see what's happening on the ground across China.
Great point. And we've also asked some seasoned sinologists what they think and their Xi impression.
First visiting China in 1981, Lawrence J. Brum was among the first wave of American students to come to the country since the establishment of China-U.S. diplomatic relations in 1979. He has witnessed China's transformation over 40 years, especially the past decade. So what is his impression of Xi?
He has experience with the local government, he has experience in the military, he has experience in planning, he has experience in all sectors. He's in a very strategic position to be able to lead the Chinese economy and Chinese nation forward because of his accumulated experience in so many sectors and so many areas.
Mario Cavolo has lived in many cities across China since 1999 and has written 3 books about the nation. What does he have to say about President Xi based on his own experience and observations?
The story of Xi Jinping is someone ordinary to extraordinary. He rose up on the basis of moving from the local farm community level to the city level to the provincial level and then finally to the presidency. He didn't get put in these positions because he had millions of dollars in an election process to get enough votes to be able to be voted into position. Okay? He earned the position, staying committed to running the government for the people, for the country. You need to get things done, accomplish things, and I think that this very much is illustrated by the history and the timeline of Xi Jinping's career as a government official and his ultimate position where he is right now.
When Xi Jinping became China's top leader about 10 years ago, over 30 years of reform and opening up had transformed the country beyond recognition. But the titanic rise was not without its problems. Downward pressure on the economy, wealth disparities, and even environmental damage.
Well, addressing these endemic issues were Xi's priorities, and he quickly initiated programs to stamp out corruption, clean up pollution, and alleviate poverty. And during the first few years of his tenure, his approach was to tackle the problems at the root.
Indeed, it's clear that his assertiveness evolved into a philosophy that featured coordinated, innovative, green, open, and shared development, a path that China is on today, a sentiment shared by our contributors.
We can see from our experience over this past decade, President Xi's personality is very decisive, with a lot of determination. When President Xi stepped into power, one of the very first things he did was tackle corruption. Corruption had become, in fact, an irritant to the average person's way of life. And President Xi saw this right away, that if you really want to have sustained economic development, quality economic development, the first step has to be to tackle corruption, clean up the system, work on a law and rule-based system.
Under Xi's leadership, China's far-reaching anti-corruption campaign has ushered in an era of immaculate governance in China. The message is clear: shape up or ship out. And the people's trust in the CPC has been growing even higher.
The other thing that Xi has achieved is the elimination of poverty in China. When you think about that in itself, this is an enormous benefit to humanity. We have so many developed countries now, North America, Europe. You have a super elite 1% of 1%, which are controlling about 90% of the wealth, and you have the rest of the population really becoming disenfranchised. And it's the disenfranchisement of people through the concentration of capital in the hands of a few, which is a problem that Xi wants to avoid here. He does not want that to happen. And so now we're looking really at creating a more equitable world which can benefit everyone together. This, I think, has been his main priority. He's putting people first.
And this is where the West went wrong. They run the government for the wealthy, not for the people. But Xi Jinping's government will not allow it to happen.
President Xi once said, "To meet people's desire for a happy life is our mission." And to fulfill that mission, Xi has charted a new development path for China, one that shifts gear toward high-quality development, which has led China out of a development trap reliant on extensive and inefficient growth at the cost of ecological damage, and avoided situations where the rich become richer and the poor poorer.
President Xi recognized high growth does not necessarily mean healthy growth. So we started to look at this from a different perspective, and that's where the concept of ecological civilization came in. Leadership, they move very, very swiftly and systematically away from a fossil fuel reliant industrial economy and into one that's driven by green energy, including the support for promoting electric cars, all types of forms of solar energy, wind energy, and doing it out of consideration for health security, food security, and water security. And once again, we've seen the blue skies come back to Beijing, and we've seen this major transformation across the country in all industries.
Internationally, President Xi Jinping has been at the forefront of China's efforts to engage with and contribute to global community.
In fact, before the COVID-19 pandemic, Xi kept a very busy schedule of trips abroad by visiting 69 countries on 41 tours.
In 2013, he raised the notion of building a community with a shared future for humanity, and he proposed the Belt and Road Initiative, which has yielded a lot of fruitful results.
Throughout the pandemic, as Xi has mentioned on many occasions, China extended helping hands to countries around the world by providing vaccinations, antivirus supplies, and sending medical teams.
Yes, this has left a deep impression on our contributors.
So we're looking at a time of evolution, and we are looking at a time of enormous volatility. The approach of President Xi has been to talk about a shared future, a common shared future of mankind, one which involves inputs from everybody, one which involves a multilateral system as opposed to a unilateral system, with the insistence upon having these kind of more fair and balanced economic and trade relations without mixing political ideology per se, but actually looking at win-win benefits. He's been approaching this through economic development, through infrastructure, through environmental solutions, working through the United Nations as an overarching vehicle, but also through the Belt and Road policy, which is working with countries that have shared needs and also shared challenges of economic development, where China's experience can be shared and can be borrowed and adapted to local circumstances. It's not just about creating a system which is determined by one set of rules, but one which has rules that are appropriate for each country, each circumstance, each region. So he's looking at how nations and people can work together in a synchronistic and synergistic way.
Through the Belt and Road Initiative, what is China doing? So it's a massive undertaking to benefit the world, to raise people up, where people have the opportunity, have the infrastructure, have the support and the resources they need, provided in cooperation with the government to be able to improve their lives. Just like we saw happen here in China.
We've also seen in the climate change talks under Xi's instruction, we've watched China's negotiating team moving from a position of passivity in the talks and observation to actually now being leaders in driving forward policies of renewable energy, of green growth, of green finance.
By the end of February 2022, over 140 countries, as well as more than 30 international organizations, have signed BRI cooperation documents with China. And according to a report from the World Bank, BRI projects could help lift 7.6 million people out of extreme poverty and 32 million people out of moderate poverty globally. This shows how China's growth can complement development worldwide, exactly what Xi has always championed.
Under the leadership of President Xi, we've seen a focus on prioritizing human development.
The results that are happening here in China are unprecedented anywhere in the world. And that's because of the leadership. The role of leadership is paramount. Leaders make it happen. And Xi Jinping is undeniably making it happen.
Under President Xi's leadership, China has scored landmark achievements over the past decade.
And Chinese people are living better lives than ever before.
In a world overshadowed by uncertainties and challenges, how will President Xi lead China on a new journey of building a modern socialist country in all respects?
And how will China continue to contribute to global recovery and strive for a better world?
Let's look forward.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.